Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. This is Big Baby Reviews. Check out my comics, Big Baby and Star Crasher at KingComics.CA. Check out my other YouTube videos. King Comics 2021 is the channel. Instagram is Maximus Rex 13 and Facebook Max Rex and or Big Babies. Today, guys, is Todd McFarlane Day. It's Friday. Hope you got a great weekend planned for yourselves. We are looking at Spawn issue number 14, cover dated September 1993, continuing our run of Todd McFarlane's Spawn, the early days. And starting off with the cover, your typical kind of shot of Violator, both versions of him, the clown, and, stuff that we've pretty much seen before, I think, in the actual series. Just kind of put together here. Probably a fairly quick cover to draw, not much backgrounds. Looks pretty good. It's kind of like a presentation shot. I hadn't noticed this before, just starting the review throughout all these years, but this weird kind of coloring ring or whatever you want to call it there, to me almost gives this one like a Looney Tunes kind of aspect. You know, if you remember the intro to Looney Tunes, so were they going for that kind of vibe? Like here they are, and presenting, Violator or something. I don't know for sure, but I just found this to be kind of an odd choice. And again, I never really paid attention or noticed that before today. But yeah, cool looking drawing of the clown, the fat little guy, and the Violator, which I've found out the Violator later. That was a weird one. Violator later will become kind of more buff and stuff. It's, if I'm not mistaken, I might find out through my Spawn reviews eventually, but I think that Violator was basically the youngest of those Hell brothers, the Fleabiak brothers, that Alan Moore introduced in the Violator miniseries, which we will be looking at some point because it's a great series. I like it actually a lot. It's very different. So let's have a look inside. So here's an example of a Todd McFarlane page that starts off with kind of a lot of dialogue, not that much. That kind of works for me, because you've got kind of the great visual of the clown there that you can kind of pull you through reading all this crap. Story and art, Todd McFarlane. Letters and editor, Tom Orzechowski. Color, Steve Oliff and Ruben Rude, and all the optics. So the story is called Myths. You'll find out why throughout the issue, and more so next issue probably. There's kind of a reveal of where McFarlane's going with the story in the next issue, which is kind of like, kind of anticlimactic, I guess. Like, I didn't think it was that great of a reveal, but it was kind of clever. I'll talk more about it next week's review when I review the next issue. But anyways, let's look at this one here. So basically what we have is a clown kind of telling these kids in an alley a story about medieval Spawn, right? And he's kind of introducing them. I like all the kind of cartoony work that McFarlane is doing here. If you don't know, I'll mention it. These three kids here are actually people who worked on the Spawn movie and like special effects and stuff, Industrial Lights and Magic. That's why he's wearing the hat. So this is actually the guy who, if I'm not mistaken, I think he directed the movie Spawn from the 90s. Not 100% sure on that, but I know for sure these are all guys that worked on the Spawn movie that McFarlane worked into the comic. It's probably early days when they were starting to discuss the movie. Always liked the way McFarlane did these kind of like tiny teeth for the Violator and lots of gums. Always thought it looked really gross. And if I feel like the prototype for the Violator, or the clown version of the Violator, is the character that he drew in Spider-Man. Those two issues with Morbius. There's the big kind of clunky guy who goes up above ground from the sewers to grab homeless victims basically for Morbius, right? The vampire. I forget his name. Skeezer? Is it Skeezer? That's a memory is very far away. I did review that comic, so I guess you could check. But I feel like the design for the clown here kind of started there. Sometimes in artists' early work, you can kind of spot where they were trying stuff and brought back designs. It's a pretty common thing. Or at least like revamp designs or make them a little bit better, right? So in this case, Violator wants to talk to these guys, and he's saying, if I could turn into my demon form, I would just rip you guys apart, but I can't right now. So here, I'm gonna buy you if I have to. So I'll buy you if I have to. I like McFarlane's kind of phonetic dialogue sometimes. I mean, do I like it? I don't know, but I guess it does help to evoke a certain accent for sure. I think it works. So we go back in time and we get some really cool shots of medieval Spawn. So, I think I've talked about this before in past reviews, but we're at the point now where I think McFarlane's running out of ideas a little bit for Spawn, right? And he's kind of starting to I don't want to say backpedal, but kind of swimming in one spot. I don't know what the expression is. He got through his early excitement and establishing Spawn. Then he got the hot writers come in and add to the Spawn mythos with their interesting takes on stuff. Medieval Spawn was introduced by Neil Gaiman in issue 9. So he's had the two-parter, right? They knew from the beginning that Spawn's killer would be Chapel. We just looked at that in the last few issues. And I think this is the point where he's run out of original ideas from that original impetus of Spawn, right? So now he's going back and kind of picking stuff in the first 12 issues and revisiting it. So with Medieval Spawn, definitely obviously going back to Neil Gaiman's issue and strip mining some of that stuff there. Great artwork though. I mean, his Medieval Spawn looks pretty cool. I remember originally like this idea that there were other spawns in the first one that was introduced, Medieval Spawn, I thought was pretty darn cool. I liked his armor. I think he did a good job there. There's always something about this shot here that I liked as a kid, and I feel now it's maybe because I just feel like this is one of the most Jack Kirby panels that Tom McFarlane has ever done. Just something in the way it's framed and the movement and the characters. I don't know. There's just something I like about that panel. Like I said, because it does remind me of a kind of a Jack Kirby action panel. He's pulling out all the usual kind of design elements to create layering and stuff, which I like. The fact that, the medieval text or the text referring to medieval times is kind of written on a scroll, which is cool. The scroll becomes kind of a 3D object that's part of the page. It overlaps this panel and the panels down here, creates that extra layer. Very cool the way it overlaps here, right? I like the sword, like just by simply overlapping things. Todd McFarlane talks a lot about this, but you can create just great depth in an image, right? So you've got, the scroll overlapping the panel, also overlapping Spawn, and then the sword coming over here, overlapping the panel into the next panel, the bit of scroll here. Excuse me. The bit of scroll here covering up the sword. All of that helps to create a sense of layering where there isn't necessarily that much, right? In this image, you could say that there's foreground, there's middle ground, there's background, right? There's only 3 planes, but by doing this, he's kind of fudging and creating more planes and creating more depth. And he's very adept at doing that, so he does it a lot. So, we go back and forth to the Violator clown talking to these kids and to medieval times. So in a weird way, I guess, because Violator's still supposed to be, as I said, the youngest of the Fleabag brothers, but he has been around since at least the 1400s or something, whenever this happens, 1300s, 800 years ago. Yeah, so the 1200s, I guess. So I guess the demons don't age very quickly or something, or, they're thousands of years old. I don't know. Maybe that's established later in Spawn mythos. We'll find out as we go along. Some people don't like the Violator's design. I always thought it was cool. People have compared it to like a weird demonic chicken. Not sure where they get the chicken part. I never understood that. Definitely a design that stands out, right? And I feel like that's probably very hard for any other artist to draw. To me, he's taken kind of what he did with Venom and just pushing it to the extreme, where he's got the big mouth and the teeth like Venom, the big eyes and stuff, but then I don't know where the inspiration for the body comes from, honestly. It's like, what I like about Violator and what I find original about him is just, like I said, his anatomy and his body, the long, lanky, like, arms and legs and stuff. I've never seen a character, before Violator showed up, I'd never seen a character designed this way. And like I said, you either love it or hate it. I think it's pretty cool. The different depictions he can do when he pulls the jaw up like this, it's so different, odd, and original that I like it, Never seen anything like this before, at least when it came out, right? Back in the 90s. No one can say the Violator is not an original look or design. So we get a bit of the B story, as usual, right? Sam and Twitch become more and more major players in this series. Just notice that he's got a donut stuck to his ass. Oh yeah, you have donut squished your ass. I don't even remember noticing that as a kid. I remember him saying that and just maybe not even looking at the art. Very odd. So here we've already started this trope, but we're going to get a lot of this brooding Spawn. Gotta say, this is a pretty cool shot of him sitting down in the trash in the alleyway, right? I maybe said this before, but yeah, I didn't realize it back in the day. Spawn was very, very emo. So what he's kind of trying to get across in these two pages here, maybe not so much in the art. Like, this is an example of when the art is not in service of the writing. So, you know, the art is just showing us Spawn hanging around the alleyways, but the narration is getting the story across. So he's like, I've let anger dictate my actions, in reference to his conflict or his fight with Chapel last issue. Chapel now knows I'm alive. Up till now, my greatest advantage was my death. No matter what I did, I was clean. No one would think that a dead man was responsible. They've been chasing shadows and red herrings. But if Chapel talks, I'm screwed big time. So he's coming to that realization. I don't know as a plot point if that ever really paid off, but I guess we'll find out later on. Like this shot when McFarlane would do this, of just kind of the silhouette of Spawn and this kind of crinkly line that he uses coming down. Always thought that looked good. He uses it a lot. So the cops are looking for Spawn, but he's already kind of fucked off, basically. Always thought this was a cool shot here. McFarlane's always very good at cityscapes and architecture. You know, a lot of times he does the vertical where he doesn't have to draw a lot of stuff in there, but this time I feel like he's really put in the time and the effort. Great looking cityscape. I think the colors are pretty subtle and subdued for the 90s, so just a great pinup here. And he's got origami Spawn cape there. Looks great. Some interesting coloring on the Violator here, which kind of brings us into the color scheme of medieval times, I guess, is kind of the idea, but like not at all realistic colors, but mood setting, and I think that works really well. This purple and blue, I got to start using more in my own comics. I think I like that combination. I'm working on a project right now for a friend for video, and I am using a bit more blues and purples together overall, because I just kind of came... Not that I didn't know about that combination working pretty well, but I started using it more, and I really like the effects of it. This whole page is kind of a representation of that. So, of course, the Fair Maiden, right? Kind of similar to modern day Spawn or Al Simmons Spawn, right? Where, you know, there's a woman that he came back for, and that's who Violator's going after here, because he knows it's going to trigger Spawn, of course. Medieval Spawn, anyways. This little shot of him here just telling the story, right? Always liked it. Just a small, cool, you know, just the hand, just the face on a black background, and I've always just liked this drawing. I think it works really well. And of course, you know, I don't want to say it's clever. I feel like it's like a trick he probably took from Alan Moore or something. Alan Moore would do this kind of stuff where Violator's telling the story from his point of view, so he's the hero of the story. But, you know, when we see the story, we see he's actually obviously a demon and probably the bad guy in this situation, right? And Spawn's probably, even though he's more of an anti-hero generally, even medieval Spawn probably, still is really the morally good, if you will, character. All this art in the conflict, though, I think looks great between medieval Spawn and Violator. Once again, the big hand in the foreground, right? Creating the layering. He's using all those tricks. Pretty good horse. Horses are hard to draw, and if I were to guess, McFarlane drawing a horse would not necessarily be the best horse. When he drew it in Spawn number 9, it looked a little odd. It looked a little like like a more of a fantasy creature, or maybe like a unicorn or something than a horse. Maybe a little bit different, but this one I think is pretty good. I mean, to draw a horse having a kick, I would definitely need to use reference pictures, I think. Maybe he did that here. The legs are a little weird on the Violator, though. Like, he's really looking kind of, what's the word? Saggy or loose or something here. Yeah. Always thought this shot was cool with the skinny arm for some reason. It just, yeah, it's just, he's gross and creepy. And all of a sudden here, boof, mustering all the strength I had left. I directed, excuse me, everything into one last fiery blow. I barfed a maelstrom of acidic flames, full force into my hated enemy. So basically incinerate spawn. This detail is important. I'm highlighting it because next issue with the reveal of what the Violator kind of claims himself to be, when we get to next week's review, this will all make sense. So just remember the Violator kind of shot fire out of his mouth here. If you know anything about medieval legends, maybe you know where I'm going with this, but I'll save the reveal for next issue. And this dates the comic, right? So he's like, 10 minutes after I stopped, his armor still glowing red hot. When it cooled, finally, I checked inside, and you know what I found? And there's a spelling mistake, unfortunately. It's Beavis for Beavis. So this is Beavis and Butthead, but obviously he meant to say Beavis and Butthead. Very 90s reference. Haha, good one, Mark. Maybe it was just a very tanned wizard. Yeah, or maybe a big pile of crap. Who cares? Come on, guys, let's get out of here. So, but boys, this is the climax. I'm almost done. Just a few more minutes. Here's some more money. All right, what did you find? Diddly! Or nothing, right? How come I had completely disintegrated the poor sucker? Ha 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 ha. So that's how this issue ends. Kind of an odd choice to end it on, but I will say this splash page I think looks awesome. Once again, full bleed on the character busting out of the panel. You know, maybe I would have had him bust out on the side here, but he's got the horn here, creates that layering. Pretty darn cool shot of Violator. Lots of Dale Keown spit in the mouth. The coloring maybe doesn't help this page too much. It's a little bit murky and not as contrasty maybe as it should be. Very dark colors, but you know, you get some highlights and stuff. Overall, I think this is a pretty cool splash page. So there we go, guys. We got a few pinups before we move on. This is Chance Wolf, I believe. Not bad. Tony Harris, great illustration. I just don't think he's very well suited for the character of Spawn himself. I'm getting more of almost like a vampire Dracula feel here, which could work for Spawn, I guess. I just don't, again, great artist, don't feel he's that suited for Spawn specifically. Some more derivative fan art here. No, I think these all seem to be original illustrations, you know, not copied from Image Comics. This down shot here, I'll commend the artist because I have something I struggle with is drawing those down shots, so I think he does a really good job here. The Violator medallion. Did anyone out there ever get one of these? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if this actually exists. Can you find them on eBay? Maybe I should look. And this is the same company that was doing those videos there, Stabber, excuse me, that did those comic book greats videos with Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Stan Lee. If you ever see those videos, you can check them out on YouTube now. That is literally what you're watching, is Image being formed, basically. They've already kind of talked about it, and I think that same weekend when they shot those videos is when Tom McFarlane convinced Mark Silvestri to join Image, and like that's pretty much the genesis of Image is happening on that weekend. Apparently, if I'm not mistaken, that legendary picture of all the Image guys was taken like the next day or something, or in around that time. I could be wrong on that. If you can correct me, do so, but I'm pretty sure I heard that somewhere. So what is this? The Stabber Corporation is proud to introduce the Violator medallion as the sequel to the sold-out Spawn collector's ring. So see, I don't even remember the Spawn collector's ring. Does anyone have one of those? Do those still exist? Can you find them? And how much are they worth? I'm just curious. Designed by famed craftsman Barry Sittner, this impressive 2-inch high, 3-dimensional medallion captures all the elaborate details from Tom McFarlane's design illustrations. I mean, yeah, if you look at it, that's pretty darn good for such a miniature size to get all the Violator details in there. I'm betting this was probably pretty fragile, though. There's bits that could break off really easily unless it's made out of some solid metal. These medallions are available in twin limited editions. The first edition is limited to 495 sterling silver medallions. Okay, pretty sturdy. With garnet eyes and have a retail price of $149. The second deluxe edition is limited to 95 gold, 14 karat medallions with ruby eyes and have a retail price of $595. Jesus Christ. The Spawn ring sold out within a few days of announcement. Don't miss out on the opportunity to own one of the true collectibles of the future. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to go look this up when I'm done the shoot, just because I'm curious about some of these derivative products. There's the Pit Crew CD I need to look up. I still haven't checked out. Oh, I remember this whole debate or whatever you want to call it between Peter David and Tom McFarlane actually happened at a comic convention. I think that as well you can watch on YouTube, but you know what? I was kind of interested in that stuff back then, not so much today. And the first kind of announcement here that we're getting is Todd McFarlane leaves Spawn. The new team takes over, Morrison and Capullo. So the first kind of promo art showing Greg Capullo doing some Spawn artwork. So I remember back in the day originally looking at this, I like Greg Capullo now a lot. And, you know, a lot of what's great about Greg Capullo was already present back here. But I just couldn't see it. And he was doing a lot of the hatching, which was maybe more kind of Wildstorm X-Force-y. And I remember not liking this at all. Do you remember thinking, though, this guy down here is well drawn. It's a hard angle. And these bats kind of pulling out of skin and eating them, I think is pretty cool. And well done. Todd will be temporarily leaving Spawn for 3 issues, 16, 17, 18, to do the Spawn Batman crossover. So at least that was a good reason. Writer Grant Morrison, penciler Greg Capullo will take over these great issues with a fresh new style. So we'll be reviewing those at some point. Once I finish up the McFarlane reviews, I'll be moving into Greg Capullo, so we will get to those as well. Not my favorite Greg Capullo Spawn issues. He's being inked, again by, I think it's Mark Pennington. More of a West Coast kind of Scott Williams, Wildstorm kind of style. Once Greg Capullo starts being inked by Tom McFarlane, then the art really starts to sing. And later on when Danny Meekie's inking him as well, it looks super awesome. So Greg Capullo, within a very short amount of time on Spawn, you know, I kind of stopped collecting Spawn when he jumped on and it wasn't McFarlane drawn anymore. And I kind of jumped back in later when I realized that his artwork was really progressing really quickly. And he was, you know, slowly but surely surpassing McFarlane, at least as far as composition and excitement. And then with the McFarlane inking aesthetic on top of that, well, you had some just really cool artwork. So there you go, guys. That is my review of Spawn issue number 14. If you have any comments, concerns, let me know in the comments below. If you're still watching and you're subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate the loyalty. If you are watching but are not subscribed, please do so below. It takes a quick second for you. Helps the channel grow, helps get us out there to other people who are into comics just like we are. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Always helps the channel. So everyone out there, thank you so much. Have a great weekend and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.